Wednesday, July 21. This is the Lakecrest meeting. The agenda. I'll let you folks pause and reread this. Please use your pause, as I'm just going to scroll through this quickly.
Okay, so him an extra day that goes over.
And we're having a little trouble with the Zoom connection, but we're just going to proceed. Hopefully we can get it running. So I'm calling this meeting to order July 21st at 6:30 p.m. So the first is we are going to approve the minutes of the last meeting. You have reviewed them. We'll have a motion.
I move to approve the minutes for our last meeting.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to move an agenda item. So I'm going to make a motion that we move new business to our landscape proposal up to now.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. So the reason we're having Devin come in, thank you for coming, is to explain a little bit about the contract and how it works and where we're at in our trying to update and catch up on all of the work that was not done. And so, just to give you a little bit of information, when we first approached all of the landscape companies, they all said because of all the work that needed to be done, they would recommend that we did a cleanup. And they gave us some idea of what that would cost. And it was very expensive for them to come in with extra crews and just clean up the whole place. The contract that we signed is for maintaining our areas. So it's for maintaining the shrubs and the lawn and everything. And we were told that if we didn't do the cleanup, it would probably take 2 to 3 months on the regular cycling through. Having 4 men 2 days a week, it would take about 2 to 3 months to catch everything up. So we opted for that, and that's what we're doing right now. But just to get a little bit ahead of that, we thought we might get an estimate on some cleanup. And so that's what Devin's here to explain, and to give you a little idea of what we mean by the rotation and how that works. So if you could take a minute, that would be great. Yes.
Okay, so as Vic alluded to, first of all, thank you so much again for letting us partner with you and be a part of the community. I'm very excited. Only 3 weeks in, and I hope you can see the areas that we have made success and are striving to, every service. So what Vic was alluding to was our detailed rotation. So essentially, your community we divide into 4 chunks, and throughout an entire month, we will then work through each section, 1, 2, 3, 4, the entire community. Right now, due to the state of the community that it's in, we can't get through it in a month. It's just not feasible. That he mentioned a maintenance contract, right? It's to maintain what we currently have. And I think that you can all agree that's not what we want. So we're working to get caught up, but this proposal is to expedite that process. We were asked to provide it, and that's why we did. We will work with your community leadership. I think we've done so far pretty good with that. Irrigation operations and myself are, every week your community leadership is reaching out to us and talking with us. So that's where we're at with this proposal right here. I know with irrigation, we agreed to provide a map. I spoke to Josh prior to, so just a quick update. He's working on the map. He'll be on site tomorrow for building 19. And then operationally, we are following our detailed rotation, and we appreciate that any requests that come through the community manager or the leadership team, that we stick to that path rather than jumping around, because what ends up happening is the pendulum swings and it keeps swinging back and forth and we don't make any progress. So there is a method to the madness, and thank you for allowing us to stick to that.
Okay, great.
Just- If I could just, say something for a moment, maybe you can explain to the community, you mentioned that you're on a rotation, okay? So we got 28 buildings, so that's roughly, call it eight buildings a week that you do? And then you move from those 8 to the next 8, to the next 8, and then rotate back to that first 8 and do it that way, is that what you're doing?
Correct, in
Okay.
an ideal world, if everything is up to speed, up to par, right, and maintain where it is, that is the plan. Correct. But right now, we can't get through 7 buildings because there's so much debris to cut, weeds to pull, to spray, clean up, that we're only able to get through that 3 to 4. And that just dominoes, and then it's a 2 more, 3 months to get through.
Okay. So the cleanup should help with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what we propose, that we will talk more.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Alright, so when I talked with Josh, who's what's his position?
Account manager.
And he's our account manager, so he's in charge of the crew. And I asked him, if we had a crew of 3 people come in, how many days would it take to do just shrub trimming and bed cleanup, edging, trimming, and weeding? And it was gonna be a week or more, and that's too much money. It's about a little under $1,000 a day for a 3-man crew. So then I said, well, what if you just did the front-facing areas of the buildings, everything that people can see when you drive through? And that ended up being under $2,000. It's 2 days, it's $1,920. And if we do that, every building will be affected. So everyone will see an improvement in their own areas. For under $2,000, we still have how much money left in our landscape extra?
So we will, after we pay the tree company, probably about $8 grand.
Okay. So we're getting a little tight, but that's why we wanted to discuss it. If every building is affected, it helps them catch up on the rotation, they'll be able to maintain it at least to that standard, and it'll improve from there on. We thought it might be worth $2,000 to do that, so I'm opening it up to you guys to let us know what you think.
Can I ask a question? Like in terms of the fronts of the buildings, like I'm just gonna give an example, like, a lot of weeds growing up through your like little rock areas. Is that gonna be part of this one-time cleanup to rid of the weeds like in fronts of the building?
It's gonna be a combination of your shrubs,
Okay.
right? We're not doing a hard cutback. It's going to be, right, trimming and manicuring them in a clean, orderly manner, right? We won't return, some of them are above your window.
Sure.
We're not gonna be cutting them below a windowsill. This is to cut them and get them in a maintainable manner. And then to your point about the weeds, we're going to spray as well as stream trim as well as mulch, so yes.
Okay, so like the fronts
So-
of the building, yeah, I think that
Right.
would be great. I just wanted to get an idea of what the nature of exactly what you're gonna be doing in the one-time cleanup. Because what we would hate to happen
Right.
is for us to pay for it and somebody say, well, wait a minute, why didn't he do this in front of the building?
Well,
I just want to make it
yeah.
clear here, what we are to expect.
And remember, that's building fronts, so you're still gonna have common areas in the fronts of your buildings, but Johnny Good, this is to get the fronts of your homes and have wrap, probably halfway to the sides of the building.
I just wanna make sure people understand what this entails, because if
Right.
they don't, then they're gonna tell their neighbor, okay, $2 grand, we got what, you know, that kind of thing.
I totally.
So it's also it's over and above the 2 days that the 4-man crew's here, so remember that. They're still coming 2 days a week, they're still doing the job of maintaining everything. This is in addition to that. Yes.
I was just wondering, some of our members cleared many palmettos and left these at the side of the road. The landscape company has been here 2 or 3 times, and they're still sitting dead on the side of the road. Now, I don't understand that when they come, well, that may not have to be their
Let me
specific job
explain.
that day, Why can't they see this and pick this up?
So that's a separate issue.
It is a separate issue. So what happens, they are responsible to remove the debris they create. That's
For what?
the landscape company is responsible to move any debris that they create, any cuttings.
But
they
only
create.
what they created. So
What we
somebody
did
else
was-
does it, they don't take
Nikki,
it
let
away?
me finish. What we did was we arranged with them and we need to designate the areas. They said we can designate 2 areas in our entire area where people can bring clippings and deposit them there. That is what we're gonna do. We also have the landscape committee, and we are going to be bringing the trailer around to start cleaning up some of the piles. Chris has been cutting a lot of stuff by the pool, and another owner cut some stuff down by your house. So we're going to take the trailer around, and the landscape committee is gonna be removing that. But they can't be responsible, because with their schedule, their men have to do their job when they're here. They can't be required to clean all the stuff up that we create on our own. It's not part of the contract.
Can I just say,
Did I
I
explain
mean,
that correctly?
for another thing, example, in the back of my house, I pick up all the broken branches that are down. I stack them up next to this one big tree. They sit there for 2 months. They're never pulled away.
And
I can talk to the landscaper left and right. It shouldn't be our owner's responsibility to clean that when we're paying for landscaping.
Can I
That's
just
the way I
please
look at it.
address this as part of the landscape committee?
Absolutely.
First of all, the things that have happened up until Duval came along, like things being left for the last 2 and 3 months, are not
I've had
Duval's
10 different
problem.
landscapers
They're
since
not-
I've lived here.
They're not Duval's problem. The things that have been trimmed that are by the side over there between building 19 side and the next door neighbor's property was done without prior knowledge by some homeowners. And we have made arrangements with them as the landscape committee to have the trailer brought over there this weekend. They will load the trailer and the landscape committee will take care of removing that debris and paying for it to be removed. If you have things that have been sitting behind your building and you need to have them done, would like to request them be taken away. There is, let me finish, there is a new, Barbara, help me.
email.
There's a new email address for the landscape committee for you to send requests saying, hey, landscape committee, I have a big pile of junk in my yard. Would it be possible for y'all to come by and pick it up sometime the next time you're actually out here working when it's not 102 degrees in the shade? And those emails will be answered. And so you have email, you can just send an email to them and someone will respond to you, Nikki. We're
Okay.
trying to
I
straighten it out.
understand what you're saying, and I thank you for saying that, and I think the landscape commission is doing wonderful. I just find it interesting that we are paying for landscapers, and we probably have had 10 different companies since I've lived here, and we have to do this work. That doesn't
No,
make
you
sense.
don't. You don't have to do
Our
that.
landscaping committee is.
They're doing it on a volunteer basis.
All right,
You don't have to do it.
I know what you're
Nikki,
saying.
when we negotiated these contracts, we tried to get the best price for the community, and that meant there were some services that we didn't want to pay for. If we wanted them to pick all of that stuff up, we could have included it, and we would have been paying more money. So, because we have a landscape committee who's willing to do it, we
I
decided
think they're doing a
not to
wonderful
charge it to
job.
the community.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, if that's something that everybody thinks we need, we can add it to next year's contract, but for now, that's the way it's gonna be, okay? Yes,
So if you approve this front cleanup, how long is it gonna take?
2 days.
All right.
approximately.
2 days, yes.
Is it gonna include, sprinkle weeds underneath the single staircases? On the side of the building?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything at the front of the building, we're gonna take care of.
expedites this process. You see something relatively quickly, a change, which I think is long overdue. And, especially right now in the middle of this summer, it'll help both of us.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are they still blowing driveways and, the sidewalks?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's part of our maintenance rate.
No, they haven't done mine in 2 weeks. So, I'm just letting you know, and they haven't done the street at my place.
Which,
Yeah, they, yeah.
I'll head over there after this. and go ahead and look at it.
Pat, I think what happened Monday, it started raining just as they started blowing, and that kind of ended it, and then they came.
Probably forgot.
Well, they came first thing and they started blowing again the second day, but they had a lot of other work, so they might have missed it. But,
I don't know, I just thought maybe they're not doing it.
no, they're supposed to.
I gotta
be,
get
so-
mine fixed.
No, I'll head over
No, you
there.
might. All right,
Yes, ma'am.
so are we ready to make a motion?
Hang on, I have one question. Excuse me. One
Yes, sir.
question. Okay, so this is the whole complex, 2 days, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I think Bacon said if we don't do a cleanup like this, it would take 2 to 3 months to get it basically to the point
Yes.
where it's cleaned up. Okay, so we're gonna do in 2 days what would have taken 2 to 3 months if it's part of your general maintenance routine, correct?
Not entirely, right? So 2-3 months is to get the fronts and backs and everything, right? We're just talking about
You
things.
just get the fronts.
Yes, this is just part
Okay,
of.
so if it was part of your general maintenance, then it would take half the time, a month.
Mm,
It would take less, I mean.
It would take less time.
It would probably take less than a month, because the back is part of the problem areas and stuff, as far as getting to the back, I would think.
That makes it pretty area.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you say it would take a month, as opposed to planning to do it in 2 days, I mean, we did not get in this condition
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
whatever, I mean, I would be willing to wait a month, I mean, I don't see it taking that.
Well,
anyway.
see, here's the thing, with this 2-day crew, it's gonna affect the entire community. Every building will have a little bit of work done. If we let the rotation take care of it, it's gonna be section 1 gets this much, section 2 gets this much. So it could take 3 months before we see any big improvements.
It would take a month to do what he's saying to do, you would do.
But it's only gonna be partially
It
done.
would be the front parts, which is what we're going to pay to do, the front parts, for the $2,000 in 2 days. Or we're going to do just the front parts, that's,
No,
that's exactly what
The
we're doing.
rotation,
I get the rotation part of it, okay?
Yeah.
We're doing the same job, we're either doing it as part of the general maintenance.
Yeah, allow me to clarify.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, not to.
Yeah, we're doing it as part of the general maintenance, where it would take us a month.
The difference is that that crew is gonna come in here and only do,
A quarter,
right?
yeah.
Whereas my maintenance crew,
Right.
2 days, they come in here, I have to mow everything out, rain or shine, do all of that, as well as get spray down, as well as do detail, as well as pick up debris. I can't get through everything alone. I'm not going to be able to, because I'm doing the entire building at that time, along with the maintenance. Whereas if my other crew comes in, they're strictly coming in, cutting, spraying, pulling debris, and leaving.
Okay, so the example that we were provided was if we didn't do the 2-day thing, it would take 2 to 3 months to do everything as part of the general maintenance. Right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay, and that's everything, that's front and back, and everything. That's why I asked you, if you just did the front, would it take less than 2 or 3 months? Which you said, yes, it would take less than 2 or 3 months, if we just did what this general cleanup was going to do.
Yeah, if we just did the front,
Yes.
along with our maintenance, and not did the back.
Right.
Okay,
You
well,
would do it in a month.
sure.
Give or take, I mean, I'm just saying, you would do it in, it wouldn't take 2 or 3 months to just do the fronts.
And I'm saying, yeah, but I mean, you're then neglecting the backs of your properties for the next 2 months. Weeds and bushes, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's counterproductive to what we're entirely trying to do.
Okay, all right. Satisfied?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
That all?
Yes.
Yes, I have a question. I'm in building 18, and of course, they just did just the mowing, those 2 past weeks. And course, you know, they just don't do it like, I mean, they just make like a very short, sharp curve, and they're making holes and holes and holes. So I brought that to the attention to the guys last Tuesday and also to Josh, because he noticed, I mean, my grass is now just getting holes, and this is something that I paid for, and I feel like, you know, they have to be more careful. How, I mean, if they're doing just the cleanup, but when they're doing the mowing, either they just drive that mowers in the right direction back and forth, like they were telling me, instead of just, but they were telling me that at the same time, there are different crews that they come to do the mowing. So I said, well, so how is the next crew that is coming next week is going to just do probably the same thing too? And I just brought attention to Megan. I sent her the pictures, and she just said that she was going to tell the guys, but who's going to be the next crew next week?
Alright, so, Inez, I have an app that I can send work orders straight to Josh, the account manager. If you can forward that to me with the pictures, I will get it to him and explain it to him and make sure they don't do that. They can just use a string trimmer to trim that portion of your lawn.
Yeah, I spoke with Josh, as a matter of fact, because he was passing by, and he said, yeah, they shouldn't do that, I mean, they have to go back.
Alright, well, I'll send him a note on his work order system so he will get it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it's good, because once we have that catalog, we'll own it. That's our, if we tear it up, that's on us. It's as simple as that.
That's what I told them, I said, look, you know,
Okay.
somebody has to be responsible.
Absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
And that was building 18, right?
18 and one of the bungalow, 18 or more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alright. So, are we ready? Does someone want to make a motion?
I move that we, accept the Ball's, proposal to do clean up in front of the building.
And I second it.
One more question. Is what you're going to do for this extra money going to be somehow delineated in writing for?
It is, right here. This proposal allows the crew of 3 to advance through as many buildings as possible, trimming all shrubs, pulling weeds and vines, and cleaning the beds surrounding the buildings. This would give the crew days on site. The primary objective would be to tip and trim shrubs in the fronts of the buildings, as well as clean up beds and spray for weeds. That's the specifics. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passed.
When is this gonna take place?
We'll send this in to Josh and then we'll get it on the schedule.
Yeah, well, operation specific, so I
Yeah.
think that's.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Good.
Good. Okay.
Did
Did I see a hand in the back?
There's me. I just have a general question. I like to go out and weed sometimes too. The stuff that you spray, is it something that, like, you put a sign that I need to avoid the area for a couple days, or how safe? You know, if I wanna go out and weed.
Right. No, that herbicide, within that hour of it being sprayed, is safe. It's even safe on contact. Obviously, if you drank it, it'd be really bad. I wouldn't recommend that. But our fertilizer, you will see when we do that, we'll put flags out for that. That is to keep off. Again, that is safe in low dosage. It's not gonna harm any animal. I wouldn't recommend again, right, ingesting or taking it, but we'll put flags out for that. But the herbicide on the back end sprayers, they're safe to, plant and yes.
Vic, what's the purpose of a massive spray in the lawns?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
I said, what is the purpose of Massey when he's going around spraying?
Massey's contract is up August 28th. We received their last treatment. Their contract was to treat our areas once every 2 months. And so we just got the last treatment and they're done.
For what, I've had people ask me the same question. What specifically are they designed to do? Are they designed to
Fertilization.
shrubs? Are they designed for weeds?
No, they're doing fertilization, insect and disease control, 3 things.
So it doesn't have anything to do with these dollar weeds or any of that nonsense, right? I mean, it's just more, is that one of their goals, is to take care of weeds?
Well, I'd have to look at their contract, I don't.
No, I understand, but people are asking, tell me what people are taking. Right.
Well, I was gonna bring this up
They
later.
wanna know, if people ask me what they were doing, I don't wanna
I was gonna bring it up, it's in the agenda, but we're gonna talk about finding out that they did do everything the contract called for before they get a final payment.
Perfect.
So we'll be going over that,
Okay.
okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, we're done with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. See you at the next one.
Thank you.
Treasurer,
Thank you.
treasurer's report is up next.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve King, I'm the new treasurer for the community, and this is my first report, so I'll let you know that the year-to-date finances are in decent shape, as our net income is $49,000 positive. We're making progress with our reserve funds as they are at $447,000, but of course this is earmarked for the final phase of the roof project, as we all know. We do still have money available in our landscaping and texture account, which I just mentioned a little earlier. Once that's paid, and now it's going to be actually roughly $8,000 left. We also have an operating cash surplus that shows that we have money available to pay our current pace of our bills. So that all seems like good news, but I'm going to tamper that a little bit. Because the good news is, or the news is tampered a little bit because it's due in large part because there's been many outstanding invoices that we discovered recently that had either not been paid, some not approved, or other invoices that were not processed by a former manager. We also anticipate many invoices coming through over the course of the next several months due to roof leaks. This issue could have been prevented at the outset by ensuring that our initial contract included things like chimney repairs, but it didn't. I know, it seems weird, doesn't it? Chimneys are on a roof, and it is not included with the contract, but that's the contract that was signed. But we're gonna take care of that, because at least in the third phase. In the third phase, we plan on renegotiating the contract to include such necessary repairs. There's also the matter of the back pool fence. You probably have heard recently that that pool has been closed. Well, I can tell you that that fence, the problem with the fence is that it's entirely the result of neglect and poor maintenance. The matter could have been prevented with simple routine maintenance, but instead, we're potentially looking at a relatively large expense in the thousands of dollars. I've seen the fence myself, and it's not in good shape. Former boards could have also caught this neglect on routine property walks. It's pretty obvious. This issue is particularly disappointing to me and the rest of the board when it could have easily been prevented. We've also done a study of some past invoices, and some of you may have been hearing some vendors that are not paying bills or this and that. And it's quite frankly because we're looking at the invoices. We're looking at what we pay and we're scrutinizing line by line. And we've concluded that several in the community, we were not responsible for paying them. But they either fully or partially. But they were approved by the former board president. These have been verified by our attorney. There were also some invoices that the manager approved that were entirely either unnecessary or should not have been charged against the community as a whole. All of these should be expenses that can be recouped, that we can't recoup because the board signed off on them, they're done. It's like water under the bridge. Can't do anything about it. I'm just bringing them to your attention just to let you know that our finances could have been in much better shape. And we could have paid for, things down the road. Not quite finished, can you hold up? Okay, great, thank you. While all of this is concerning, there is good news. It's important to note that the contracts that we currently negotiated were done in a manner that during the course of the year are going to save us money. Such, landscaping landscaping, the irrigation, and also the pest control into one. It's a savings of, I believe it's approximately $12,000, but that's over the course of the year. So these little things will help, and it's our charge to continue to make sure that our finances are in good shape by the end of the year, which we're really trying to do very hard. On a final note, it's my plan to also move our money around that's in our cash accounts to get a better interest rate on our cash. We have I think we can do better. So I'm gonna look around, but that'll probably take me a couple of months to fully do, but once that's done, I'll report on it and let you know. Okay. Now your question.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the pool being closed. I'm just curious what the benefit of closing the pool is, given that the risk is to keep kids out, right? That's the liability factor. I'm just curious why we would keep the pool closed as opposed to letting it be open and have someone there.
A lot of it has to do with insurance.
It's the health department, Jason.
So it has to be closed?
They will not issue the permit.
We have no permit before the inspection.
Understood.
And honestly, the health department just, they sent us a picture that showed that really we only have two sections that really we should repair. But, ethically, we gotta do more because we know that the fence is even worse shape than that.
So what we're gonna try to do,
I saw them.
Jason, what we're gonna try to do is replace those two missing pieces and have them come in and inspect. And they might give us a pass on it, and if we get a pass, we can open the pool.
Excellent.
At that point, Friday, we're getting a quote for a whole new fence. So we'll have all that information, but if we can get the pool open in the meantime, if we can get them to do that, we will. If they see the rest of the fence and say no, at least we tried.
Appreciate that.
It's in relation to the pool. Hopefully we wouldn't spend that much money repairing it if we know we really do need to replace the whole fence. With that in mind, isn't there a way other than caution tape, say bolted plywood, to close those two sections, which should pass the health department, because the fence would be closed? I mean, as opposed to having a contractor come in and probably charge in the low thousands just to replace those two, and possibly even damage other portions of the fence, removing those sections. Should we just look for the least expensive way to solve the problem?
Yeah,
There's 5 sections that are completely tore out not to,
Even less of a reason to repair those 5 sections and just repair the whole fence, because neither gates work, which is probably the health department thing too. I mean, you should probably have more than one exit from there. It's just a thought. I mean,
That's a great
So
thought. Whatever it takes to get a permit.
you probably get a permit with plywood and bolts, so I mean, it's just one of those things.
It's ethically, we wanna do more than just get a permit, we wanna.
No, I want to replace the fence. I just don't want to spend money to fix the fence and then pay money.
No,
to replace the fence.
Understood.
Right.
There's one of the owners
Megan
who
has
lives
something.
here who I talked to who's a welder,
Okay.
and I showed him a piece of metal. And I actually asked him, I said, does that look like it was ever maintained in its entire life? And he said, no. He said it would have taken him that long of never cleaning it, never painting it, never maintaining it for it to look like that. But he did say that we could use some sort of epoxy to put those things back in. And so we're gonna look into that and see if we can get that done just by this.
Maybe we can have a fence repair committee too to go with the landscape.
Plus, there's a lot of dirt and debris like
It's the same thing we have here in the
that's
front.
corroded in,
Yeah.
and it's essentially, yeah.
There's no argument on the
Yeah.
lack of, on the deferred maintenance on a lot of the,
Yeah.
common areas and stuff, because they cleaned up the front for the last year or 2 years
Right.
ago. Same thing, so I mean, we see it,
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this is an issue that was brought to management's attention about 3 months ago, and we just now,
Oh,
2
sure.
days ago, realized
I bet it is.
that we realized that we had no permit, okay? So, yeah, it's a long story, we won't get
Sure.
into it, but
Yeah.
it's one more thing that we're putting fire out as a
Yeah.
board.
I have full confidence that it's all
Yeah,
gonna be done
okay,
properly.
we're working on it though, we're working.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna try to get this pool open as fast as we can, but within safety and within the law,
Okay, Steve, are you?
That's it.
Did somebody have a question? Somebody else have a
Any
question?
questions on the treasurer's report? All right, let's move on to manager's report.
Okay.
Sorry, I was hoping you used my picture instead of printing out another copy. So, included with this management report, there's also a financial snapshot, which, Steve has already gone through, a list of the variances on the income statement, as you can see, a snapshot of some of the delinquent accounts as of June 30th, just a high-level overview. Total AR is over 90 days, there are $17,400 in change that is outstanding. And then at the attorney, there are still 2 accounts that are with the attorney. One is on a payment plan and is staying with the current attorney, and then the second account is in the process of being transferred, which I believe we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But the unit that's on the payment plan, payments are continuing to be collected on those, and so every month you're seeing a decrease on that outstanding.
So the one that we're collecting, the large amount, is that gonna be transferred to the new attorney?
No, that's staying with the current attorney because it is already on an approved payment plan. Now, the attorney fees for that account are already enrolled into the monthly payment that the owner is making. So there are no additional fees to the association. So that's another reason why it does not make sense to roll it over to the new attorney and start a whole new agreement and all that sort of stuff. That account is supposed to be paid off next year.
Okay.
And then the second account that is being transferred over in the final bill that came from that account, all of those fees have been placed on that that unit's ledger by our accounts receivables department and will be handed over to the new attorney. So that's going to be a direct pass.
Okay.
So that bill we just got is not gonna be on us, which is fantastic.
It's being paid up front, so it'll be collected on back end.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
quite a business. What would you like us to do?
I don't know.
Okay.
Hell.
Obviously, some office updates. Julie Shannon is no longer with First Service. I apologize to all residents if you have seen an interruption in services, any phone calls that have not been returned, messages not returned, emails that have been delayed in being returned. I'm filling in the office, unfortunately not every 8 hours a day, every single day during the week. I'm putting in as many hours here as I can, while I work my other position as regional director for First Service. And so I'm trying to get caught up as much as possible. And I honestly appreciate the kindness that you guys are showing to me and the patience that you have with me. You all have been wonderful. And just know that I'm trying my best just to get through everything and to get caught up and trying to get ahead of what I can. So thank you.
Appreciate you.
A final termination notice was sent to Canaan Lawn Service on June 23rd via certified letter. Final termination notice was sent to Down to Earth for irrigation services on July 9th. And final termination notice was sent to Massive Services via certified letter on July 9th as well. I have several proposals requested from Pine Roofing for various leaks. So I don't know if you want me to read these out loud or just, we've got these documented. I have one chimney leak for all weather that's still outstanding. And then another one that has just been requested from all weather for a ceiling leak in a dining room. And then I have a list here of outstanding gutter repairs that I'm aware of at this moment from River City Gutters. There are probably more.
I finally heard back from Buster,
Okay,
and we are planning to meet with him Friday morning. We're going to do a walkthrough through the community with that list in hand, and we're going to talk about the next phase with him and about getting everything straightened out prior to that start.
okay.
Are these three of the new roofs, or are they from the old roofs?
No, that's
We did find
These are all, so these, units that I have requested proposals for prime roofing are all new roofs
the ones that have already been done.
that have already been done. However, and this is part of the larger conversation, is that the initial inspection from prime or from all weather is that the leaks are coming from the chimneys.
So that's what we were talking about earlier, the chimneys were to be done with the roofs. And the last board took it out, is that correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
Yes.
that is correct.
Yes.
So we've got one chimney leak after another,
Correct.
as is can attest.
So, yes.
Correct.
That's what we're up to.
But you're saying we can renegotiate possibly for years 2, 3, and 4 to rectify at least the next 2
So
phases?
I talked with, what's his name, I forget his name, but the owner of Prime Roofing
Mark Young.
this afternoon, and he's gonna be calling me on Monday, we're gonna set up a time next week. And all of us are gonna sit down with them, and we're gonna discuss phase 3, chimneys to be included, and he's perfectly willing to talk with us about it, so, yes, sir.
I wanna open up a bad can of worms, but according to Mr. King, which I think he's turned out to be a good treasurer for what I've heard so far, consider what we had before, which I don't did agree with, but that's, he was elected that office. But if FSR employee and our treasurer before, or other people that were involved in these invoices that Mr. King is bringing up, of all these losses that have been incurred on us homeowners, paying in on our HOAs. Is it, like he says, we're not gonna recoup them, but I mean,
We're looking into every avenue that we can take to recoup any money possible, that's all I can say.
And,
does that include recouping from FSR?
Yes, it does.
Vic will talk about one particular one a
Yes.
little bit later in our, meeting. And that'll kind of give you an idea of why some of this is just, I'm bringing it to your attention, but forget about it. You know what I mean? It's gone. We just need to do better.
Well, I agree, yes. I mean,
And,
we had a great treasurer some, I don't know, how many, 16 years. But we had a great treasurer, I don't know, must have been 10 years ago, and he was really detailed. He was a young man, and he looked like he put a lot of hours in during the week and what have you on. But, you know, I think you were good, do a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that at the end.
Yeah, I'll
We're gonna
talk
get to
about
that
that.
then, it's more so at the end regarding recouping money.
but thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
And your comments.
Sure.
The tree canopy lift, and probably have noticed over the past couple of weeks that Four Seasons, tree service has been on the property, trimming some trees and such. They are not finished, they will be back, however, they do have to walk the property a little bit.
They will be here tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We're going to meet with them and drive through the property and determine what they didn't do yet. And they will not get a final payment until it's finished.
Part of this is that we are going to schedule which building they will be working near and when.
Yeah.
One of the, comments that, or pieces of feedback that we had received from the vendor was that they couldn't get to certain trees because cars were in the way. Great, tell us when you're gonna be that tree, and we can notify the residents to move cars.
way, to Megan's point, just so you know, this particular tree service company was the clearly lowest bidder on, of anyone, for the services that we got. We're just making sure that it's buttoned up, it's done according to what we agreed to, and that's why we're holding off payment, so.
Yeah.
So, and then just, there's a proposal included in this packet, from Bob's backflow. As required by JEA, the association has to do an annual backflow preventer inspection, and, one of the backflow preventers failed, and so that proposal is to repair that backflow preventer. And then of course, the update on the fencing of the backflow Hardwick fence will be out here on Friday to take a look at that fence. Now Hardwick has replaced and repaired portions of this fence last year, and they also repaired and replaced portions of the back fence in 2017.
Oh, really?
So they are very familiar with this property and the type of fencing that we have out here. I had reached out to several other fencing companies, and when I mentioned the type of material that was used on the fencing, two companies came back and didn't want to touch it because it's not aluminum. So I have asked for proposals for aluminum fencing, but I would like to, you made a suggestion about putting up boards and cheese law. I believe that will satisfy the health department as far as getting a permanent opening, but since Hardwick will be here on Friday to go ahead and take a look at it, I want them to look at it, and let's get that proposal, and then we can move forward with that decision. We just want to go ahead and board it up, and in the meantime, in the short term, but let's see what he says first, and see where we go from there. That's my suggestion though.
And do you intend to ask the health department if that would be acceptable to boarding up?
It has been acceptable at other properties with the same exact situation.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right.
It's awesome.
Yes.
I'll board it up. I'll board it up.
$27,500 is what we're paying.
Because walking around here and having the trucks parked by our building and everything, I don't know what they did for the 2 weeks that they were here.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw one tree stump, and that was it, and then,
Well, they took down a bigger
yeah.
there, a couple behind the buildings. And every tree hanging over every street is to be trimmed up. That was the agreement with them. And then there were numerous smaller trees that were gonna be removed. But we have their agreement, and we're gonna go through it one by one, make sure they're doing it.
Okay, because we walk around here a decent amount and that stuff, and we actually looked to see where the branches were cut, and it was like,
Yeah,
they
some
got it.
areas look really great, and some areas look like they didn't touch it, so.
Most of the time, I couldn't even tell where they cut stuff, I was like, okay, but I saw some stuff in the truck, it was like, but it wasn't a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying? It was like,
Yeah,
it looked like we were a parking lot for it.
we're gonna get to the bottom of it.
And then
Yes.
that's how we garbage?
Yeah.
I think there were two companies here for trees. One was doing the cutting, and that truck sat there for a week or two. The R&D or something.
I just have one question regarding the gutters. Will the gutters over building 5, specifically 502, ever get fixed to a point where it doesn't leak even when it doesn't rain?
Building 5 hasn't been done yet.
No, building 5 hasn't been done yet, but my landing is not going to make it to November or December if something can't be done, because it leaks for days. The concrete is cracked. The landing has actually started making
Have you
noises.
sent that in as a work order yet?
Yeah, I did that, what was the one night we took?
15.
It was over the weekend.
You just did, okay.
I did,
All right.
it was just this past weekend.
We'll take a look at it.
Where the squeaking, William talked about it, mentioned it to me the other day, I know you had mentioned it in your email. I was with one of the gentlemen from All Weather this afternoon, we were looking at another unit in Building 11. And I brought that up to him because I know All Weather had done some work in April.
Previously, yeah.
If memory serves me right, that landing has to be replaced.
Absolutely it has. I mean, the landing, the columns, that whole thing has been replaced.
502
You mean on for building 5?
501.
501,
501, 502, I can tell you now that whoever did it didn't permit it, so it doesn't matter. It's wrong, and
Another contractor come out and take a look at it, and
when you step into when you step into my condo, you can hear that squeaking and the movement outside of the landing, so.
It's all the contract.
I hate being rude, but
We're gonna look at
I
it.
have to go back to work, so, sorry.
Definitely cannot,
I live
thank
in
you.
501 below her,
Okay.
and they had to replace the whole door frame,
Yeah, they do that as part of the.
and it was coming inside.
That's right.
And if they don't repair it, it's just gonna have to be redone again. Because water, if we get a hard rain, it's up to the sill,
All right.
it's almost coming inside.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
all right, Susie.
501.
Yeah.
And 2.
Yeah. All right, we'll look at it when we do the walkthrough with him tomorrow. Or Friday.
I just got a quick question about the chimneys. Is it fair to say that if you've got a leaking chimney and water in your ceiling, seeing water spots, that is something that will be fixed? The roof's been done, the chimney leaks, you have 5 spots in it.
We wanna know that.
I've already talked to you about it.
Yeah.
We're 9 and 10,
Okay.
and they'll get back to
Oh,
you.
I have a
file mine.
Yeah. You'll get
Mine
back
didn't
to me, you know.
Here's the story. I talked to him this afternoon.
Okay.
It's been repaired. They
Okay.
didn't do the trim. That's how we're gonna know that chimneys have been repaired.
Okay.
That's been done with hardboard,
Yeah.
and it's completely sealed, but they didn't put the trim pieces on the sides to seal the corners in.
Is that prime that will do that?
No, it's gonna be all weather.
All weather?
All weather is doing the chimney repairs. We're gonna talk to Prime about whether they can do that or not,
Okay.
but we haven't gotten that far. But yours has been fixed.
And I can talk to you later about repainting where we need it.
Yeah, that's part of what we do.
Right.
However, we get all weather into doing.
Once you do the chamber repair, there's just one that's gonna do.
Yeah, so the chimney's been fixed.
I didn't hear that.
Okay, so I'll get with all other and schedule them to come in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Just one thing, when you meet with Buster, can you remind him again that none of our buildings have been resealed, where they took down the old gutters?
Right.
Prime Roofing took the old gutters down.
Well, whoever
So
put the new gutters up
that's
was
a whole
supposed.
can of worms. Nobody ever approached either company as to who's gonna fill those holes in.
So it was.
Prime Roofing pulled the gutters off.
Cause I got a hole like that right by my
Yeah.
landing, and
Right.
not only is the water getting in there a lot, but now there's little critters crawling in there, so.
Who fixed the last ones, the holes?
I don't think I've
There's a lot of places where.
Yes,
pockets-
It was all weather, did it at building 21, where the gutter coming down from building 2110, all weather came out and put some.
Alright, we'll talk to the gutter.
I don't think
Possibly
anybody
do it.
made any arrangements from a board or management standpoint to address that issue. It kind of fell through the cracks.
Yeah, I know.
So,
So did painting.
exactly. So we've got.
Well, we almost did it ourselves.
And we've got holes that nobody's addressed, and nobody addressed them ahead of time when they hired the roofers and the gutters.
Alright. Thanks, we'll get it.
One more chimney question. Are we gonna work with the assumption that all the chimneys on places that have new roofs are going to eventually need to be repaired? Like, do we have to wait for them to leave? Or?
Yeah, we're
know
gonna
that
try to
people
have it
know?
done in phase 3, on all the phase 3 buildings, but we want them to do an internal inspection. They can climb up in the roof, in the attic, and look inside those chimneys and see which ones have leaked or not. And so we'll be able to gauge how much money we're gonna spend on it. So that's the plan for now.
It may not be done in phase 3,
Right.
but we're having to look at it so we can get it.
I guess what I'm saying, if it leaks next week, it's gonna get repaired. I mean, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But just going forward, we know that it wasn't done properly at some point in time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have to go back on phase 1 and 2.
There wasn't, Well, by the way, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but you can go to, the Lakecrest website and look at the contracts, correct?
Yeah.
And you can read it for yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about on some of these.
Who signed the contracts report?
Yeah. Okay.
Just real quick, I have one more thing, at the top of the very last page, there's a booth here that I would like to suggest that needs to go to hearing regulations.
All right, so,
If you'd like to read that, and then I suggest the board,
I have to look at the top, when you show it today.
so we have a problem, and I know we talked about this at previous board meetings about the trailers that have all of the metal
The air conditioner,
junk, air conditioner, and all that. It's been 2 months now, we've talked to them a number of times, and we finally decided it's time to charge them something for this.
It's past time, Rob.
So, how many notices have gone out to that gentleman?
at this point, 4.
4 notices.
No,
And
So-
were they listed as first, second, third?
No. There were 2 notices sent in June, they were both first notices, and they were for there were 2 different categories, it was the same, kind of the same thing, one was, for improper dumping for something the chemical.
The Freon.
And then the second one was for improper storage of using the, unenclosed trailer to store items. So
All right, so, the way,
I sent 2 additional letters this week.
and what were they considered?
I put them as second notices.
So he did receive a second notice?
Yes.
So what's our procedure?
You don't have a written procedure that says you have to do first notice, second notice.
I thought we
Can I
did.
say something? Okay, here's the thing that we noticed, yesterday, is the guy's junk is not only in his trailers at this point,
Yeah.
it's sitting on the grass
Yeah,
and on the
sure.
pavement.
Let me talk.
Oh, no,
Okay.
okay,
Did somebody ask a question?
I don't know.
Max,
I asked him if I could
something.
tell.
Okay, doesn't bother me that this man makes a living picking up metal and that's his job. That doesn't bother me. But for the love of Mike, I don't understand why we can't have a large sign back there and find the owners of the buildings that are dumping all that crap back there. They're remodeling their buildings and putting
There is a sign
cabinets
back there, no
back there.
dumping. There is a sign, no dumping.
There's a sign.
Yep,
Right by the dumpster.
yep.
All right.
Right next to where they dump it.
Let me
But
Nikki, let me talk about this first, and then I'll talk about that.
Big time, not
So-
$25, charge them $100.
As far as I can see, there are 2 issues with this guy. He's running a business on our property, and that's not allowed. I wanna fine him for that now. He's been doing it, what?
They went over their house.
Well, whoever else is running businesses, we need to stop it.
Business out of their house.
So that's gonna be a fine now. And we told him, as a homeowner, he's allowed to have a trailer back there. He is not allowed to dump junk on the parking lot and be working at stripping metal down. That's not gonna happen anymore. He's gonna be allowed to have 1 trailer. We're gonna give him 7 days to get the other trailer out of here. And if we see him doing that again, after 7 days, it's gonna be $100 a day, up into $1,000. So that's kind of what we thought we should do with it. Now, yes.
We included on that he can't turn around and put a barbecue on the back of his truck, and wait for the blow through our living room. Just saying.
Is that what he's?
Yes, he's barbecuing on the back of his truck, I'm waiting for it.
As far as I know, you're not allowed to barbecue with a gas grill anywhere. Does he use charcoal?
Oh, no, use charcoal.
On the back of his truck?
Yes.
In the bed?
Yeah, in the bed, yeah. I'm waiting for it to be in the living room. I'm waiting for it. I think we're covered, you know.
Take a picture. If he doesn't, take a
This
picture.
is the same guy with the oxygen tanks in his garage.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
So we're gonna find the
While he's grilling.
we're gonna fine him $100 for running the business.
Yeah. Per
And
day.
then we're gonna fine him after 7 days if he still has that extra trailer here. So we're gonna give him 7 days to get the trailer out. And then it's gonna be $100 a day. And if he starts doing it again as a business, we'll fine him again for running a business, but we're not gonna stand for it anymore.
Well, Sunday, I saw him back up in the trailer, jammed that way over the top, and his truck was awesome. And he backed up into the, car wash, and he's washing everything.
It's his business.
Yes, it is, it's an
All right, so-
This stuff that's outside the trailer, sitting in the yard.
Yes, I'm gonna make a motion that we're going to fine him immediately $100 for running a business in our RV parking lot.
Is that $100 per day?
Yeah, and then we're going to, we're gonna give him 7 days from today to get the second trailer out of here. And if he doesn't, then it's gonna be $100 a day, every day the extra trailer is here. If he continues to do business, then we will charge him another fine every time we catch him doing it.
Toad and second the motion.
That's what
I just gave the motion.
That's what I want.
I second the motion.
Steve
No,
seconded
did you
it.
say have it towed? I think we should have it towed because the junk is not just in his trailer, it's sitting on the pavement.
Well,
Give him a chance.
He parks lengthwise.
Yeah.
He'll take up like 5 parking
Right.
spots because
Right.
he has his trailer loaded and then he'll go in for the night and he's gonna leave early. But it'll take up 5 parking spots.
I think if we tow this junk that's not even in his trailer, that's free game.
Yeah.
Right? It's just junk.
It's on county property.
I think that we have given this guy, this is just my opinion, we've given this guy enough notice.
Years.
Vic has asked him personally, okay, and he continued, his mom came up and cried to Emily, oh,
All right,
Vic was.
Deborah, come on, we're trying to get
I'm
through.
just saying, I'm
We
just
have-
telling them the facts.
We have a motion on the table,
Well,
and Steve seconded it.
and this is just to do the fine, not the towing.
I don't know if we have the right to tell him, we could look into
If
it.
the junk is sitting on the pavement,
He's not parked, his trailer's not parked correctly, the trailer's
Debbie, if there's junk sitting in the parking lot, that's considered running his business, he's gonna get fined every time we catch him doing that. That's what I said.
Does he have a sticker on that?
Yeah. He has one sticker, right?
No, I think
I
they're all
personally think the
stickers.
stuff that's sitting on the pavement.
All right.
All
All in favor?
He looked.
Debbie, you're not voting?
I'm in favor of towing the junk myself, because it's not in his
All right.
trailer.
2 in favor.
It's not in
one
his
opposed.
trailer.
That's not the motion.
Right,
All right.
well, I'm not going with the motion, I'm saying.
Now, I understand that at this point, this has to go to the violation committee, right?
correct.
Yeah.
So Dennis, you're gonna get this,
Right.
and then you guys are gonna decide whether or not we're gonna do it.
Oh, he's gone.
Okay.
Next.
Next. All right, are you done, Madison?
That's it.
What?
Okay. All right, so we're gonna talk about the committees. So I know we sent out an email, and you guys are aware that we're trying to start a couple of committees. We have the Rules and Regulations Committee already, and Dee Dee is on that. So anytime, Dee Dee, if you wanna get with us, we'd like to talk to you about how we're gonna do it.
Okay, yeah,
What
definitely.
I was saying is, we need to get together and talk about that.
Can I just say, there's volunteer forms at the back of the room.
Oh.
Anyone who's interested in volunteering for any of these committees, please fill it out, leave it with Megan now. It's also available on the portal. Just grab some to take to your
So
neighbors.
okay, so you know, the Rules and Regulations Committee is gonna be talking about the RV parking lot and the rules that have to be abided by in there. We need to tighten that up. They're gonna be talking about planting plants in beds and other areas. They're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about a number of different things that affect everybody, so we'd like input, and if somebody has time, we'd like you to join in, because we don't know what to do about it right now. We need help trying to decide what everybody in the community wants to do. So thank you for that. Landscape Committee, Steve is no longer chairperson, Michael back there is now the chairperson of the landscape committee. And it's right now, Michael's been doing some vine cutting. I don't know if you, when you pull out of here and you look at the palmettos across on the island, he cut all the vines that were running up those trees, and if you look at them, they're all dead now. So that's what we're trying to accomplish over the summer, is to just cut the vines and let them die. So, good work on that one. The social committee is the other committee that we're looking to form, one of the others. So, who's involved with that? Barbara? Terry?
There's already been volunteer forms. Just submit an application if you want to be on the
All right,
committee.
so the social committee, basically, the use of the clubhouse, maybe get together, use whatever you guys come up with. And then the last one is the architectural review committee. And what we want to do with this is we'd like people who can understand the engineering reports and the structural problems that we have with these buildings, because anybody who is going to be approving renovations should know that. And the plan is, I think I talked about it last time, what we want to do is from 2009, when they did the structural engineering report with a schedule of repairs needed, we need to know what repairs were done. Now, past board people know about it, you know about that one landing that was fixed. We need input from people, and the architectural review committee will be collecting all that information, so we can get to a point where we know what needs to be done, and we know what has been done. So, along with that, you'll be approving people's requests for doing renovations and things like that. So anybody with knowledge of engineering and structure and building would be a big help. Okay? Any questions on any of that? Okay. All right. Old business. So last board meeting, the vice president resigned. I'm making a motion that Steve fill that position. By the way, a board member can, besides the president, any other board member can do more than one position. So Steve said he will act as vice president and treasurer. So I make a motion that we appoint Steve vice president.
And I second it.
All in favor?
You don't want it.
All right.
Is that permanent, or is that just till the election?
Well, I'll have to be elected.
At the next election,
So
the next
remember
board will pick new.
Right.
It's an appointment for now.
Right, I'm just clarifying.
All right, the next thing is about when we hired an attorney to take the place of the last one we had. I just want to read this to you because I put together some notes. We were put in a position because K&N Landscaping quit on us, and we needed to have Duval Landscaping start July 1st. You're all aware of that. We also had the attorney expiring on the 30th of June, the day before that. And we did not want to spend another $4,000 retainer for that attorney and then be charged nickel and dime everything he did for us again. So this is what I found out. The association's prior attorney's contract expired on June 30th. The board had urgent matters to attend to immediately after that expiration date, most important of which was the new landscaping contract, which started July 1st. And that was to ensure that the community would be protected legally. In that regard, the new attorney was able to quickly and effectively assist us by providing important modifications to the language of the contract. In other words, we gave him the contract to review. He changed a lot of language, which we were able to get approved by Duval Landscaping, and we now have a landscaping contract that best suits the needs of our community. So what we did, we wanted to provide this to clarify it. We interviewed 3 firms, even though we didn't have to. We're not required to have competitive bidding from attorneys, but we did anyway. And we felt it was in our best interest. Interviewing a vendor is not considered a board meeting since we are only finding out information about their services and not discussing the operation of our association. So the board, as all three of us, are allowed to combine, meet with someone to determine what services they can provide. That's not considered a board meeting, and we don't have to post that. We can just do that. That's the law. The new firm does not require us to pay a sizable retainer like the old one. In fact, they don't require any money up front. We're not paying them anything per month. So we signed an agreement with them. It's actually not a contract because no money was transpired between us. The board unanimously approved the hiring of the new attorney, it's permitted by Florida law. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna ratify that decision. So I make a motion that we ratify the hiring of Dan Wasserstein as our attorney.
And I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, I just wanted to let you know that. That's how it works. Okay. The other update we already talked about, we're gonna be meeting him Friday, and we're gonna be looking into the issues, including that landing. The chimney update, we already talked about. We're gonna have the inspections done from the inside on phase 3 and see what we can do. Tree canopy lift, we already talked about. Thursday, we're talking to him. All right, we're to the proposals, Megan. Do you wanna go through those? Did you have a question?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, so in the board packet, there are a couple of proposals, that were, again, kind of emergency situations where we had to act quickly to get work done, get these proposals submitted. So the board just needs to ratify these votes.
So 1201.
Okay.
1201, the proposals from all weather contractors, it is to investigate a leak that was coming into the unit. So I have not heard back on what the outcome of this was, but the interesting thing was this is a bottom unit and there was an active leak in the ceiling, but the upstairs unit upon initial inspection, there was no visible water anywhere. So we had to quickly go in and get into the ceiling and find out.
Did they do that?
They did, but I have not heard what the cause of the leak was yet, so it was nothing, thank goodness, nothing.
So just so
serious.
everyone's clear, if you're a downstairs unit and water spots appear on your ceiling, if it's caused by the unit above, it's between you and the unit above. It has nothing to do with us. We don't know what the cause is yet, so we agreed that we would pay this if it is our problem, but we made the owner aware that if it turns out to be an upstairs unit problem, they're gonna have to be responsible to pay this. And that's how it's gonna happen from now on.
And then there's another one, the proposal from
We can
910,
do all of this.
which we discussed earlier with the gentleman that has left, and this work has been done. This was the chimney repair for 910. And then there was another proposal from Prime Roofing for, unit 2811, and the unit is under contract for sale, and they had a home inspection, and there were some repairs that needed to be done, by the roofing company. So that was a proposal for these repairs.
I haven't seen that.
2811.
This one was, I had emailed this one to you previously, but it should be in your
No. These are the only two that were in that.
I apologize.
Oh, trying roofing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought those were all.
I'm sorry. That's the one,
The whole wall, the leaking air conditioner stuff, the holes in the walls,
Oh, yeah.
broken windows, broken glass block.
So. just
Sprinkler
another
spraying through the wall.
explanation. The vents that come up, the stack vents, when we had the new roofs put on, they put lead flashing, which is a covering over those pipes that keeps the water from coming into your house. And we were told, the board, the previous board was told that squirrels are a problem. They've been chewing off that flashing, and that was causing a lot of problems in the units. Our previous board, they gave us a proposal as part of the initial proposal to put squirrel guards or rodent guards on those stack pipes. Well, the board said no to that. So now they told the board that this is gonna be a problem in the future. Well, hello, here we are. Unit 9 was just done, and the squirrels ate the flashing off the stack pipe. And it's not a warranty. We're gonna have to pay them to come and replace it. So we're gonna address that too, along with the chimneys, with the next phase. And I can't imagine that that's a lot of money to have had that problem. We'll find out. So we're gonna have to approve this in order to get that fixed. 12 more. All right. So I make a motion that we approve all three of these.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
How about Bob's?
Bob's backflow.
Bob's backflow, that was the one that was in my management report.
So the only question I have on this is, in here it says that we have to turn on the well for them to check the backflow on the well. We have 3 wells and they're used for irrigation, so can we find out why they would need to be checking our irrigation wells? All right, before we approve this, I know, I'm sure we're gonna have to pay for it, but I wanna know what that means. Okay.
I will, I'll call them tomorrow if I don't learn about what.
Unless anybody knows anything
I
about that.
unfortunately don't have much experience with backflow preventers, except that they have to be checked annually and most of the time they fail.
Well, also, if we have to do it, someone's gonna need to activate the well for them to test it.
Well, you should be able to do that.
What's that?
Well, you should be able to do that.
All right.
Alright.
So that's gonna be not approved yet. All right, so the last thing I want to address is this overpayment situation for Massey. So we talked to the attorney all about this, and there were 3 avenues that we could proceed to try to recoup the money. One was through FSR.
That's to your point.
Yes.
You brought up earlier.
Yes, you brought this up earlier. So the contract with FSR completely indemnifies FSR as a company for everything that could possibly go wrong. They are not responsible or held responsible for any of it. So that's the contract that was never reviewed by an attorney, as far as I know, and we're stuck with that. So we cannot go after FSR for the money.
I'll get a better manager in here.
Well, let's
Yes.
finish this.
I hear you. K&N, because when K&N, the amount we were paying them was reduced, and we started paying them a reduced amount, we virtually agreed to that by paying them continuously the lower amount, wasn't the contracted amount. Legally, that's considered accepting the negotiation down.
It's not spoken.
So, because the contract was so poorly written, if there had been a monetary designation for their service that they didn't provide, we would have a right to go after that. But because there was no monetary number attached in the contract, we're not gonna get anywhere. So the attorney said he'd write us a letter, and we'd write them a letter, and he said they'll probably send it back and tell you no way, or whatever.
No way, no way.
So then the third is the board members who were involved. So our insurance company that we have, that cover the board, would have the right to determine whether or not it was willful. If it was willfully done, they can refuse coverage. If they decide that, okay, well, we will cover it, number one, there's a deductible. Number two, the rates are gonna go up because the board is suing themselves, and the only thing involved is the insurance company. And number three, I looked at that policy, it's 54 pages long. 54 pages, and it gives them the right to charge us for every side service that we would have in order to go through a suit against anybody. So what the attorney told me, by the time you got to the end of it, your attorney fees and all of it would be too much. It's only $13,000.
So it'd be more than
So again, here we are. Yes, Dennis.
So what does this board now do with any future contracts?
Every contract is reviewed by the attorney and protections are put in, and anything outrageous, like indemnifying
Yeah, right.
the entire company, gets taken out, or we're not gonna deal with those companies. That's what we're doing from this point on. But
Right.
looking back, we can't really do
Right.
anything. So, that's where we're at.
I already said that.
Any questions?
Yes, you can.
Well, asked and answered. You asked, we gave you the answer.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you know, I wish there was some more. If anybody knows of anything else we could do, please let us know. But that's kind of what
anything legal. Oh, tonight, I've never felt so confident in our board.
Well, thank you.
You are
If there's no other questions, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the July 2021 board meeting.